If you were gaming in the 2000s on PlayStation 2, you were also enjoying the peak of the survival horror genre. It was a glorious time when Resident Evil was sidelined by the likes of Silent Hill 2 and 3, and up-and-comers like Siren, Manhunt, and of course, Fatal Frame could make a name for themselves and get an entire trilogy's worth of games. This was compounded with hits like Clock Tower 3, Q-On, Haunting Ground, and no less than 5 Onimusha games filling out the ranks. The Fatal Frame games were especially hot. Their masterworks all, you can't go wrong. But the second game in particular was exceptionally scary. It took its ghost photography premise and classic survival horror gameplay to the fullest. It was so good that it was remade on the Nintendo Wii and was deemed too amazing to release in the US, where it sold poorly in Europe and in its native Japan. Realizing this huge blunder, the boys at Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja have remade Fatal Frame 2 once again and wisely released it on all major platforms worldwide. How extensive is this new Unreal Engine 5 remake? What's been added, and is it faithful? Find out in our Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake review. Fatal Frame 2 tells the story of twin sisters Mio and Mayu. Mio, the fierce protector, is haunted by a childhood accident, while fragile Mayu forever limps in her sister's shadow. The sisters revisit a fog-covered forest on the eve of its tragic fate, drawn in by crimson butterflies that spirit away Mio into an impenetrable mist. The mysterious mist transports her to Minakami Village, a forsaken hamlet trapped in eternal midnight. Using the camera obscura, a mysterious lens that exorcises vengeful spirits, she navigates through the blood-stained houses and profane shrines in search of her trance-possessed sibling. As she pieces together diaries of the Crimson Sacrifice, she uncovers the story of identical maidens bound by ritual kimonos, who engage in a lover-like struggle to merge their souls into butterfly guardians against the void. The imagery remains unsettling even today, not only because of the blood-stained village and tormented souls, but also due to the complex relationship between Mayu and Mio. Their dynamic exemplifies toxic codependency entwined with the Yandere obsession, and even hints of incest simmering beneath the psychotic obsession and guilt-tripping and manipulation. Sometimes in some shots, you just might think these sisters are about to bump uglies. Amazingly, Fatal Frame 2's story was allowed back in 2003, and it's even more insane that it's been left untouched in 2026. Most of the surprising elements of the story are subtextual, with the surface-level plot centering on Mio exploring haunted houses, shrines, and caves, battling wraiths while desperately searching for her increasingly trance-like sister, and seeking a way to escape the village's nightmarish curse. The premise may seem simple, but the surrounding environmental storytelling, the background lore, and the overall feeling of getting lost in Minakami are as engrossing as ever. It's a fully realized derelict town stuffed to the brim with details and optional enterable domiciles, and they're full of hidden notes. No matter where you look or where you go, Minakami is always shrouded in a thick layer of dread and the feeling like you're about to get jumped by a vengeful phantom. There are signs of death and despair in every home. It's like all the negative feelings from every villager is made manifest, which is exactly the case because each ghost is an individual and gets compiled in a compendium. Crimson Butterfly Remake further amplifies the distinctions through more detailed visuals and a wider range of expression. While the original game on PlayStation 2 had traditional fixed angles and tank controls, it made less sense because the combat effectively felt like a first-person shooter. Minakami is completely interconnected, and like any good survival horror from the 2000s, the remake has players searching for film, health items, charms, and of course, keys. Switching to a typical over-the-shoulder third-person perspective with the standard controls is a logical choice, as players will frequently alternate between aiming with the camera and exploring the environment. This was somewhat confusing in the original game, as exploring with Mio placed the point of view quite far from her character. The camera obscura is Mio's primary weapon for exorcising ghosts. Functionally, it operates like a gun and features an aim mode that allows players to frame enemies accurately. Players can use focus and zoom for precision shots, capturing images with the trigger buttons. The remake's controls and Mio's animation are dramatically improved from anything else the series has ever had, making this the most fun entry to play. Players will need to measure film types like the Type 7, which is infinite but weak, or the rarer Type 61 film, which offers better damage scaling based on alignment. You have limited but upgradable inventory space for the various film stocks, so act accordingly. 5 guiding dots on the screen will turn increasingly red as players achieve optimal hits, enabling fatal frames that deal massive stagger and shatter damage when timed correctly during red glow attacks. The camera obscura is also upgradable and can equip various swappable filters, which also come with bespoke mechanics, abilities, and upgrades. The filters operate through a special shot system that drains Mio's willpower gauge, but she can always gain it back by taking higher value shots of ghosts, creating a tense tug of war during combat. New gameplay elements include dodging and crouching, toggling the flashlight for stealth, and new nooks and crannies to explore, making Crimson Butterfly Remake a deeper and more complex game than its original. Sadly, there's no gyro aim support on PlayStation 5, which is surprising considering it was present in Fatal Frame, Maiden of the Black Water on PlayStation 4. If you play Crimson Butterfly Remake on Switch 2, you're in luck, because it's present in that version. I could probably forgive this oversight, but capping the frame rate at 30 frames per second on PlayStation 5 is so utterly bewildering that I can't make sense of it. Crimson Butterfly Remake is a good-looking game for sure, probably one of the best-looking horror games around, but that is due to the impeccable art direction, not because it's a demanding game. This could have easily shipped at 60 frames per second without any drops. To make matters worse, Unreal Engine 5 is seemingly unoptimized for this game. It isn't the worst, but when playing with HDR enabled, there are unintended splotches and buggy effects that result in blurry and dark artifacts. At first, you think these might be sleep paralysis demons, but no, they're just the effects of sloppy optimization. There is no turning off the aggressive film grain filter, which might annoy some players. Technical hiccups and the baffling 30 frames per second cap aside, Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake is the ultimate Fatal Frame game. The gameplay has been refined, made deeper, and there's new content to discover on top of looking unbelievably sharp, for the most part. If the minor setbacks can be addressed, then you're looking at what could be the greatest remake of all time.